It's unfair and reductive to think that everyone in the Western elite is some kind of sociopathic megalomaniac who looks at regular people like ants. In reality, that's only about 80% of them. And for that matter, there's plenty of diversity within the sociopathic megalomaniacal Western elitist demographic. There's people who made their money by inventing life-saving pharmaceuticals, and there's people who made their money by illegally trafficking those pharmaceuticals. There's people who made their money fertilizing the farmland of the Midwest, and there's people who made their money dumping toxic waste into it. There's plenty of different archetypes of people within the Western elite. Here's just a few of them. The first archetype is the businessman constantly threatening to run for public office. Businessmen threaten to run for public office when their businesses have been losing money for 3 fiscal quarters or longer. It's well understood in the business community that any businessman who loses money 3 quarters in a row is not capable of being a businessman and should therefore be demoted to a lower position, like President of the United States. The second archetype is the environmentally friendly gas pipeline magnate. While all gas pipeline magnates contribute to the slow, relentless suffocation of Earth's plant and animal life, some of them have figured out how to do so in an environmentally friendly way. For instance, by donating to the Democratic Party, gas pipeline magnates can reduce their carbon emissions by essentially 100%. They can also reduce their carbon emissions by emitting their carbon in low-income rural areas where the local plant and animal life tends to vote Republican and doesn't mind being suffocated. The third archetype is the chemical weapons entrepreneur. Some people who go to business school go into investment banking, some go into real estate, and some go into bombing the Middle East. Getting into defense contracting is harder than getting into most industries, because you can't just raise a few $100,000 in seed capital and then start bombing the Middle East. Bombing the Middle East is a heavily regulated industry, hampered by lots of restrictive legislation, like the Geneva Convention and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The fourth archetype is the middleman who connects Western corporations with slave labor camps in the developing world. If warlords in the developing world are going to run slave labor camps anyway, we might as well buy things from them. Although it's not ideal, surely it's better for any developing country to sell things to the West than to not sell things to the West. We're not going to sanction them, are we? And we're not going to invade them either, so we might as well keep doing business with the slave labor camps. The fifth archetype is the offshore banker for human traffickers. If sex work is real work, then offshore banking is real banking. International law says you can't buy and sell people unless you have a boat. The reason why offshore transactions go unchecked by major governments is that they provide unique opportunities to attract foreign investment, expand trade, and spur economic development. Also, a lot of major governments are involved in the human trafficking. The sixth archetype is the private sector Gestapo commandant. The United States has only 18 intelligence agencies, making it necessary for it to enlist the help of various corporations in order to properly gather intelligence on its own citizens. The purpose of this intelligence gathering is to prevent the Chinese from conquering us and taking away our civil liberties. The seventh and final archetype we'll discuss here is the genocide logistics coordinator. There's a common misconception that genocides, like the Rwandan genocide for example, are disorganized and spontaneous. They're actually a lot of work. Among other things, someone has to take the humanitarian aid money and use it to buy machine guns on the black market, and then someone has to take the machine guns and smuggle them into the country on a Red Cross cargo plane or something. There's endless tasks involved in organizing a genocide, and they're carried out by a lot of hardworking people behind the scenes. There's a lot of remarkable archetypes that this list has not touched upon, such as the German scion whose family made its money during the Third Reich, and the fake businessman CIA front guy. All of these characters work together to keep the world spinning, and we should all be grateful to them.